Hello and welcome to The Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi dated 2nd June 2026. Here we have taken up important news articles from The Hindu and Indian Express newspaper and I have segregated our discussion into three parts, that is analysis, mains value addition and prelims pointer. In analysis section, first we will see the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. How Iranian war is shaping the significance and challenges associated with IMEC. The second news article that we are going to cover is related to challenges associated with gig economy and gig workers in India. Both these discussion will be followed by mains practice questions so that you can assess your understanding. In mains value addition, we will be covering relevant findings of the NFHS 5, that is National Family Health Survey 6, and which are important from the perspective of examination. In prelims pointer, the topics are listed here, which will again cover the relevant information from the perspective of examination. So let us start our discussion. So the first topic of today's session is related to India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC. And now this article reads as, IMEC is caught between commerce and geopolitics. And the context is that Iran conflict strengthens the case of IMEC, while simultaneously complicating its execution. So on one hand, this Iran conflict has made this project, this connectivity project, very vital for India, very significant for India. However, the realities on ground have made its implication, execution and operationalization a complicated task. Now GS paper 2 talks about regional and global groupings and agreements involving India or affecting India's interest. So in this discussion, we will be looking into the basics related to IMEC. What are the key components of IMEC? How Iran war has brought in few realities, geopolitical realities. How these realities are going to impact IMEC. What are the challenges related to IMEC and what is the way forward? So let us begin our discussion with the first thing. What is IMEC? That is India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. As the name suggests, it is a connectivity project, a multimodal connectivity project where different modes of transport will be utilized. And this is aimed to connect India to Europe, bypassing the Suez Canal, the traditional route through Red Sea. It will help in reducing the time as well as the cost of trade between India and Europe. Plus, it has been seen as an alternative route in case of the blockade of the conventional maritime routes, as we have seen in the case of the Hormuz, and earlier in 2022-23, due to Houthi rebellions, we saw the blockade in Red Sea also. So it was proposed and announced in G20 summit in the year 2023, held in India. So 7 countries including India, United States, Saudi Arabia, UAE, France, Germany, Italy, plus European Union, they signed an MOU to develop this corridor as a connectivity project. Now main objective, as I have told you, enhance trade and connectivity between India, West Asia and Europe, plus reducing logistic cost and transit time, diversify global supply chain, create alternative to vulnerable maritime pathways or choke points, and promote energy, digital and economic integration. These were the objectives declared when this MOU was signed among these countries. Now it has basically 3 parts. The Eastern Corridor, that is starting from Mumbai till Jebel Ali port in UAE. So this is a sea link connecting India to West Asia. Then from Jebel Ali till the port of Haifa, a rail route will be created, rail plus road route will be created, which we call Middle Corridor. So it will connect UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan and Israel. And from Haifa port of Israel, it will be connected to Greece and further in the Europe through Western Corridor. So Eastern, Central and Western Corridor. Now key components include the transport connectivity, as we have seen ports, railways, highways, logistic hubs, all will be created. Energy connectivity is another very important feature of this, which will focus on renewable energy also, including green hydrogen, electricity transmission network, and pipelines for the crude oil and gases. Then comes the digital connectivity. So this is also an important part. High-end digital connectivity will be ensured, which will ensure real-time tracking of shipment and transport, plus a high-speed communication network through undersea data cables will also be developed in this proposal. So again, as you can understand, the size and proportion of this project is so vast. It is not just related to creating infrastructure like road, ports, etc., but it transcends into energy security and digital connectivity also. Now, coming to the article itself, now we have understood the IMEC, why it is the objective and component. What Iran war has taught us? First thing, despite the general belief, the traditional conventional belief that Iran would be of no match of USA and Israel together, the reality is contrary to this version. Despite heavy losses in terms of leadership, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of their defense infrastructure, still Iran remained relevant and it persisted throughout. Not only persisted, but it also inflicted heavy casualty on the US and Israeli troops. Now, US congressional reports has quoted that more than 40 aircrafts, including 5th gen and 5th and more advanced aircraft, 5th plus 5th 5.5 gen aircraft have also been lost in this conflict. Heavy casualties on the ports which were operated by US Navy in various Gulf countries were also reported. So it was not just that Iran survived, but Iran retaliated in a manner which no one anticipated. But it is not about the outcome of the war, that who fought well, who did not perform well. It is about what are the realities that world has learned here. First thing is the choke points, the maritime choke points like Hormuz. Earlier world has also seen that choke points, basically choke point, as the name suggests, it is narrow lane of passage, generally used for connecting two larger water bodies in sea lane, maritime sea lane. So you call it a choke point because suddenly it creates a bottleneck in these passage. So this is what the choke point means. So in 2020-23, when Houthi rebellion was active in Red Sea, world witnessed a case of bottleneck or blockade in Red Sea. Same thing happened here. Strait of Hormuz was weaponized by Iran. Now, world has understood that connectivity project must avoid dependence on few choke points. They should have alternative. In case of IMEC, if you can recall, India has to connect Jebel Ali of UAE, the western corridor. Now, Jebel Ali is lying on the tip of Strait of Hormuz. Definitely, whenever in future Strait of Hormuz is compromised, this entire corridor will be compromised. And that is why world has learned that you cannot depend on few choke points. Second, it was also learned that economic corridors are not insulated from regional conflict. Take for example, when Israel went into conflict with Hamas, now a clear proposition that trade route between Jordan and Israel will be severely hampered. The last leg of the middle corridor, port of Haifa will be hampered. Same is the case in this present context, Iran-US war. So, US, after the bombing of Iran retaliated by attacking the ports of other Gulf countries, including UAE, Saudi Arabia. So, now it is seen that Earlier it was the proposition, if two countries are fighting, they will be involving their military installation. But now they are weaponizing the trade routes also. They are weaponizing it against the adversary. Next is, as I have told you, the Jebel Ali and Fujira, they remain vulnerable to regional escalation, especially in case of conflict with Iran. So again, they lie central to the IMEC project, and again, this conflict exposes the vulnerability specifically to this particular project. Then, the regional partnership. Now, it is not just about Iran versus USA or versus Israel. Just understand this. What is the stance of UAE? UAE and Saudi Arabia are not working in tandem, kind of creating a diplomatic rift. Oman has remained neutral throughout. So, these regional powers, they themselves don't have this continuation, or you can say coherence in their policy and in their execution. So these situation, they bring out the fragility and vulnerability of the regional partnership also. So if you will see, UAE and Bahrain, they signed an accord with Israel while other powers resisted. Now UAE has decided to walk away from OPEC. Now Saudi Arabia is furious over UAE's action. Oman remains neutral. Even during when Saudi attacked Houthis in Yemen, Oman remained neutral. So this is how regional partnership is also exposed, that if you are partnering these countries into a major connectivity project, how they will come on the same page. Next is the final you can say outcome is that commerce cannot be separated from geopolitics. So to have the balanced and peaceful or operational trade corridor, you should have a stable political relations and regional security. So this is what this conflict has told world about the connectivity projects, which involves various regional powers. Now, the most important thing, why it is important for India, the IMEC project. IMEC project has several benefits. First is the trade route, as I have told. So suggestions tell that 40% of the cost and 30% of the time will be saved once this corridor will be operationalized. Then it will provide a diversification in the supply chain routes. So choke points and these arm twisting will not work. You will be having operational supply chain route. Next is, when your cost and time is reducing, it will enhance the market access and thus the competitiveness of the Indian goods and products. Strategic benefit involves the Act West policy. Now again, you will be involved in a multi-billion-dollar deal, and certainly you will be engaging with these countries. You will have a better deepened ties with these countries, which are hub and powerhouse of the world energy security. Now again, this will provide a direct gateway between India and Europe via West Asia. So again, an economic bridge will be created, an alternative route will be created. Most importantly, if you will see China, it has already made its progress in this direction through its Belt and Road Initiative. So if you will see the Maritime Silk Route, it is creating alternative route. If you will see, the Silk Route, the land part and the maritime part, through the network of port and road, already China has created its own alternative routes to reach to the Europe. So it is not just about encircling India. It is not just related to the security imperative. It is also about harnessing and utilizing a global market through alternative routes. Then itself, if you will see that key pillars include infrastructure development, innovation and sustainability, you will understand if you will connect with these regions, large amount of money will be invested in on your shores also. India can become a supply hub, or you can say a logistic hub for the products which are further moving east towards Southeast Asia. So again, India can establish itself as a logistic hub through this connectivity project. Now, last but not the least, the energy security. So efficient energy route, consistent supplies, green energy, everything India will gain through these IMEC project. But is the Iran-Israel conflict is the only issue that is hampering this project? Answer is no. So we have discussed some finding. Now we will see how these cumulatively they are affecting the IMEC project in totality. So first is the geopolitical challenge, which we have covered, that Israel-Palestine conflict, Iran-Israel tension. Now what is happening? It is impacting ports in UAE, plus rivalries among regional powers. So I have given you example of UAE versus Saudi, the recent one, and security of the maritime route. So again and again you are listening to this, that this ship is being bombed by Iran, this ship is being bombed by US. Again, security, maritime routes have a huge security challenge, not just because of the war, but because of other issues. Like previously I have told, Houthi rebellion, they were attacking the ships in and around Red Sea area, Bab el-Mandeb. So these are the challenges once you are going to operationalize a project which is going to cost you, estimate is up and above $500 billion. Multiple stakeholders are involved. How would you execute something which has to cross through so many geopolitical challenges? Next is, as I have told you, the massive financing requirement. Now I have told you it is the estimate says more than $500 billion. Problem is not money. Problem is how it will be distributed and how it will be contributed among different countries, because not every country is on the same page. So if you will compare the Gulf countries themselves, Jordan and Saudi, not on the same level in terms of the money power. So what would be the cost sharing? Who will be contributing what? How they will be contributing? How they will be raising the funds? And rest, it is not just about West Asia. Think about European part also. How they are going to contribute, what they are going to contribute. Next, the implementation timeline. So there is no timeline as of now. So again, such disruptions like war, regional conflict will push this project on and on and on. So there is no fixed timeline, and again, when there is no fixed timeline, there is no pressure to execute the project or operationalize the project. Next is the harmonization. So from port to railways to road, every country has a different set of rules, regulation and ways of working. Now how do you harmonize all this? How do you organize the gauges of railway? How do you organize the custom regulation? How do you organize the regulatory charges and the clearance that is being given on the ports or the checkpoints? So that is again a matter which needs a thorough revision and thorough discussion. Then comes the security challenges which transcend the boundary of geopolitical conflict. It includes terrorism, particularly the West Asia. It is home to some major organization like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, okay, Houthi rebellions, okay, Hamas is there, Okay, so Hezbollah is there. So multiple organizations are working in this region, and they have state rivals in shape of countries like Israel. So again, how do you fight them? How do you maintain the security of such a large investment? Then the maritime threats like piracy, the bombing by the rival countries. Then when you are talking about the digital connectivity, when you are talking about huge cables, cyber security will be another arena which need to be fortified. Otherwise, again, this will become another tool of exploitation or arm twisting for the regional powers, or those who don't who know the significance of IMEC. Now, what needs to be done? So there are several alternatives which our article also suggests, and we will also cover. First is make it more flexible. So as of now, you are focusing on the ports of UAE. Rather, think about alternative routes. Use ports of Oman, which are far away from the Strait of Hormuz. This is one example. So Oman, you can establish Muscat, you can establish Salalah. So these ports are far away from the Hormuz, and that they will provide an alternative route to the IMEC. Second, alternative western node should be created. So it is not just eastern node. The western node from Egypt, that is existing route, Egyptian ports toward Europe on the western side. So these ports and these networks are already in place, working since ages. So you can utilize them as an alternative route in case when Haifa gets blocked. When Haifa gets blocked, you can utilize the Egyptian ports. Then regional diplomacy should be strengthened, because India has a very good rapport with all the major powers in the region. Name it Israel, name it Saudi, name it UAE, India or Iran. India has a very credible and you can say established role and relation with these countries, which India can leverage into settling the issues and making this project operationalized. Then the existing corridors. So existing corridors which are in different phases of their development, like INSTC and other regional air connectivity project, like we have talked about the existing project in existing corridors in Egypt through the network of ports which is connecting to the European ports. We should be working in tandem. We should not be creating a corridor which is a competition of existing corridor, but they should be complementary to each other. Next is the security, which should not be compromised in any case. So we need to focus upon this maritime infrastructure as well as crisis management mechanism. So a plan B should be created, and every country should be on the same page in protecting the corridor, irrespective of the regional conflict or regional disagreements. So these things should be done in order to operationalize and order to execute the IMEC corridor. Based on this discussion, this is your practice question. The India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor has the potential to reshape Eurasian connectivity. Examine its opportunities and challenges. A 250-word, 15-marker question. Try to attempt it. The next news article is related to platform workers or gig workers, and it reads as new algorithm, same old exploitation of gig worker. So it says that amid rising algorithmic control and digital surveillance, which we will cover, concerns are growing over workers' dignity, social security and welfare. Important from the perspective of GS Paper 3, Indian economy and issues relating to development and employment. So we'll look into what does this gig worker or gig economy mean. What is the significance? Why, despite having several initiatives like new labor codes, operationalization of new labor code, still the problem remains? What are the issues highlighted in the article and some way forward? So let us begin the discussion. First is the gig economy. What does it mean? So it is a labor market which is characterized by short-term agreement, task-based work, flexible work arrangement, and digital platform intermediation. So these characteristics make gig economy. So for your understanding, you are using an app. So that becomes a digital platform. You are booking a cab or bike for travel. Now, you are engaging a person into a temporary, you can say, job, and this platform is promising this service provider that if you will connect to my particular app, I will give you rides in a day, with no promise of how many rides and how much money you can earn, but I'll provide you a platform. So basically, this is short-term engagement, task-based engagement. You have taken passengers, you have made 10 journeys, you will get money accordingly after deducting the share of the app itself. So gig worker, so Code on Social Security 2020, it defines them as a person who earns from work arrangements outside the traditional employer-employee relationship. So traditional employer-employee relationship, that you need to provide PF benefit, you need to provide insurance benefit, you need to provide gratuity benefit. So these things are not provided. So just a contractual arrangement, you are skilled in something, I will provide you work, just get the job done, take your, give me the commission, that is the app owner. The app, you will, the platform, you will pay the platform fee, rest is your income. So there are two types of gig worker. First is the platform worker, as who are taking work from a platform, like you might have seen Uber, Ola, Rapido, Zomato, Big Basket, who are using platform. And non-platform gig workers like designer, interior designer, architect, or anyone who is just engaged in a contract for a service delivery, a content writer, you can say a reviewer. So all these are kind of non-formal setup of work. So it is expanding in India, as you can see that in 2020-21, there were around 7.7 million gig worker, around 70 lakh, which rose to 1 crore in 2024 and 25, and it is expected to rise to 2.35 crore, that is 23.5 million in 2029 and 30. Now, by 2030, they will account for more than 4% of the workforce. This is the estimation of the gig workers. Now, what is the significance? Why it is important? Why it is growing and why it should be growing? First thing, the labor force. Now you know the problem and opportunity. At the same breath, we should say this is lies in the youth and demographic dividend we call. And this gig economy, they do not require any specific skill. They do not require a high standard of, you can say, the job experience or expertise. No. You can drive a car, just go and pick up the passenger. You have declared that you are a plumber. Okay, just get the work and get the job done. So entry barriers are very low. So they act as an absorbing force for the the large pool of labor force. So it provides opportunity for youth, migrants, and semi-skilled workers to get the work on a daily and consistent basis. Plus, the flexibility that it involves, because if you want to do the job, you will get the money. If you don't want to do the job, you won't get the money. The flexibility enables multiple income streams. So it supports part-time employment also. So kind of it acts as a source of supplementary income. Next is the digital economy. Now this gig economy are backbone of digital economy, e-commerce, okay, logistic and mobility sector. So it is a positive feedback loop where they are getting work through these platforms. In turn, they are helping these platforms to grow. Next is the labor market flexibility. So it provides an option of flexibility. So a business owner, if demand grows, they can simply expand the labor force, because they are not going into any contractual labor or contractual form of labor. So they can expand, and immediately when their demand drops or their business cycle goes down, they can reduce the number. So it provides that flexibility, and thus it reduces the transaction cost. And this flexibility and low transaction cost, it boosts entrepreneurship. So people are motivated to get self-employment and do freelancing work. Now, the Niti Aayog data says that this flexible work arrangement have an encouraging trend or encouraging outcome in terms of women participation in the workforce. Now, further, Niti Aayog has also highlighted that it provides opportunities, especially in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. So if you will see the data from the eShram portal, where the registration of gig workers are mandated, you will see states like Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Bihar are far ahead than other states in terms it kind of providing the youth opportunity to get registered, to get work, to do something meaningful. So again, these were the significance of the gig workers or the gig economy. Now, despite several government initiatives like Code on Social Security 2020, eShram portal, budget announcement which specifically talks about the gig economy, gig worker, operationalization of labor code, and inline the draft social security rules, reality is different. Still, the implementation gaps are there. Still, lack of awareness is there. So first thing, they lack complete social security. So health insurance, pension, maternity benefit, old age protection is almost absent in gig economy, practically absent in gig economy. And they have remained outside formal labor protection framework. So that creates one problem. Next is the income insecurity or the volatile earning, because your earning will depend on demand. So if it goes up, your earnings will go up. If it will go down, your earning will go down. So it is not something which is consistent and regular. Second, platform they charge commission, they fix dynamic pricing, and these pricing are working on algorithm, and the gig worker is not aware about how they are functioning. So whatever they will tell you that this time dynamic pricing is there, it is there, no explanation at all. This time it is not working that way, so pricing goes down and suddenly your margin goes down. No explanation. So these are the issues which provide the case of volatile earning, and there is no minimum wage guarantee. So it is more about what you do, what you get. There is no minimum wage guarantee. Now, at the beginning, we talked about algorithmic control and invisible management. Now, generally, it is said that it is technology neutral, but understand this. There are ratings in the app. How you are rating these workers. Based on these ratings, they will get some increment. They get some bonus. But many a times, it is believed and it has been proved that these algorithm which they claim that it is neutral, nobody is disturbing them, nobody is interfering with them, there are proofs and there are practices where higher management has tampered with these algorithm, and suddenly you will find you are not getting the bonus, you are not getting the increment because your rating is poor. You will ask, how my rating is poor? There is no explanation. This is what the invisible management. So they claim that this is transparent, this is automated, but no, this is not at all transparent, and this is a major issue. Next is the occupational risk, especially those who are traveling on roads. So accidents, extreme weathers, long working hour, 12 hour, 10 hour is the general working hours for them. It creates a cause of mental stress. Now, since you are not in a formal workforce, you are being treated as an independent contractor, your unionization remains limited. So whenever there is call of whenever there is any demand, they rarely get materialized because they lack this collective power. Somebody or the others will be somebody or the other will be working at the same time when others are striking. So again, the problem, they lack this power of collective bargaining. Now, what article has highlighted the real-time issues. Now you can connect it with the issues that we have discussed. So article is saying that after this code, this government you can say directives, this delivery platform they are claiming, because recently there was an issue, 10-minute delivery issue was there. So they claim that they no longer are pushing workers to deliver within 10 minutes. Now author asks a simple question: can delivery workers truly escape the pressure of time-bound labor in a fiercely competitive platform economy? Because your algorithm, which you claim it is independent, will rate this service provider poorly, because this is competitive economy. Next is the common whatever survey the author has done, people he found, they say that more you work, more you earn. More you work, more you earn, which is old capitalist promise that hard work guarantees better earning, a belief that continues to dominate India's labor market as of now. So he highlights one thing, that even after working more than 84 hours a week, that is more than 12 hours of daily labor, the earning lies between 25,000 to 30,000 a month, where they have to pay EMIs, where they have to pay their rent, where they have to pay their expenses, fees, petrol prices, everything, in just this meager income. Then, as we have discussed, this is the issue here also. Gig worker is often presented technologically neutral, but workers frequently suspect that human managers continue to intervene through algorithmic systems. That is what we were discussing about. Another issue that author has highlighted, lack of awareness. So recently a directive came that introduction of formal job offer to provide legitimacy to gig worker. Most of the delivery worker remain unaware of these developments. Now, what should be done? Again, we are repeating some directives and suggestion from the Niti Aayog. First is universal social security should be provided in terms of health insurance, accident cover, pension benefit, and portability through e-Shram registration. Further, fair and predictable earning should be communicated to the workers, and it should include the inflation, fuel cost, and working time also. Algorithmic governance, that should be transparent, it should not be opaque. One should be very clear why the ratings are going down. One should be very clear that how it is functioning. Otherwise, you can always exploit the workers by saying that this is simple, an algorithm, and your rating has gone down. Then workers right, because you need to ensure that prior notice written written reason and appeal mechanism before suspension or termination of any worker. So it should not be summary eviction, summary expulsion, rather some prior notice and reason should be provided. Another important suggestion is you should establish a national standard which should work in tandem through state welfare boards and welfare funds in order to streamline the you can say guidelines and the suggestions. Then safe and dignified working condition, which should include the safety equipment, working hours, and occupational safety measures should be strengthened. Then grievance redressal should be provided so as to provide an independent hearing towards the dispute, and dispute resolution mechanism should be independent, which should involve representative of government also. Platform as well as workers. So it should be involving all the stakeholders, and an independent institution should be created. Plus, lastly, the skill development and upward mobility should be ensured so that better quality of job and better quality of work environment and income can be assured for the workers. Now, based on this is your practice question, that recognition without protection remains the central paradox of India's gig economy. Critically examine a 15-marker 250-word question. Now, the next section is mains value addition. Here we will provide some important data which you can use in your answers as well as in your essays to substantiate your argument and will help you fetching better marks in the examination. Depend on this particular value addition data is based on the findings of the National Family Health Survey 6, which came recently, and title reads as Joy and Pain. And what it highlights, that good things, that child stunting has gone down by 17% as compared to NFHS 5. Wasting has gone down by 32%. Another good thing is the full immunization of the 12 to 23 months children has gone up by 87%, and institutional delivery are now more than 90%. Now, how to remember these data? Simple. You can simply quote that stunting and wasting has improved in NFHS 6. Even if you forget the exact figure 17%, 32%, you can quote this, that things have improved. The institutional delivery is more than 90%. Immunization has improved. Total fertility rate has gone down below the TFR, that is replacement level of fertility, which is 2.1. So total fertility rate has gone down to 2. But concerning issue is dual burden of malnutrition is there. So undernutrition still persists and obesity is rising rapidly. So men, again, no need to remember exact data, just remember one thing: obesity in men has increased. Obesity in women has also recorded an uptick, increased. Then infant feeding, which is very important for the overall health and growth of the children, registered a decline of around 7 or 8%. So again, three figures, that is obesity has increased both in men and women, and the infant feeding has gone down. So these are the important findings in the news article, which the first part, that is what has improved, and the second part what is concerning, and that is why the title Joy and Pain. The first news article in the prelims pointer is related to this news, where Myanmar president, who is on a state visit to India, has said that no space for anti-India elements in Myanmar. Basically, he is referring to the bordering lands, and he is assuring India that he would not allow the fringe elements or the terrorists or those who are working against India. Important from the perspective of GS India and its neighborhood, will cover some important information related to the border between India and Myanmar. Around 1600 kilometer border India shares with Myanmar, to be precise 1643 kilometer, and it is the only ASEAN country which shares land border with India. Now, states, the largest land border is Arunachal. Then the four state, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram. Now, Mizoram and Arunachal, they share around 500 kilometer of border with Myanmar. Followed by Manipur, then Nagpur. So, four state, Arunachal, Nagpur, Manipur, Mizoram, which share the border with Myanmar. Now, important thing is that this border is porous and it is very difficult to guard this border, because since ages, communities or tribal communities are living on both sides of the border. So, there are Kukis, Chin, Konyak, Nagas, so they are living on the both side of the border. So it is very porous, and there are several important entry and exit checkpoints. First is More, which is in Manipur, and Tamu in Myanmar. So More in Manipur, it is located at very important India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway. Then the next important border is Zokhathar in Mizoram, which connects Rikadar in Myanmar, and links Mizoram with the Chin state. Now, another important border is Zorinpoi. Zorinpoi again in Mizoram, which is associated with Kaladan project, which we will cover in the next slide. It connects Zokhachua in Myanmar. So More, Zokhathar and Zorinpoi. These three are major connecting points between India and Myanmar as of now. However, traditionally and historically, India and Myanmar had a good road link and connection. To begin with, Stilwell Road, which is a World War II road, which connected Assam with Kunming in China. It passes through Nampong and Fangsau Pass, which lies in the Changlang district of the Arunachal Pradesh. So, Stilwell Road, World War II road, major road during the World War II time, and connected Changlang in Arunachal with Myanmar, and moving forward in eastern side to connecting China. Two projects that we have just gone through is India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway, passes through More and Tamu in Myanmar. Another important project, which is Kaladan multi-modal project, which connects Kolkata port to the Sitwe port in Myanmar. Then through Kaladan river, it goes till Paletwa, and from Paletwa to Zorinpoi in Mizoram, it connects through the road. So sea, river, and then road. So multi-modal project, the Kaladan multi-modal project, very important because it provides an alternative route to the Siliguri corridor, which we often call the chicken neck. So once fully operationalized, this Siliguri corridor or chicken neck, this is an alternative route to access the northeastern India. So that is why the Kaladan multimodal transit project transport model is very important from the perspective of India, including the IMT highway, which you have seen, and operational Stilwell Road. The next news article is related to environmental pollution, and it reads as, why do cities get polluted in summer? Now this article talks about that the pollution, we generally understand that it is the phenomena of winters, where low wind movement, very low temperature, and the stubble burning in the neighborhood state, they create a composite situation where we witness smog, which is a pollution. But recently, various stations have recorded that air pollution is a phenomena in summer also, and rather it has grown. So what is the issue? First is the vehicular emission and construction activity, industrial emission and dust from the local storm. So in summer, what is happening in the northwestern part of India, intense low pressure is getting developed, which is pulling wind from the Thar Desert and West Asia. These are hot and dry winds, and which is causing the local dust storm, which we generally call Andhi. So difference from the winter pollution is that while winter pollution is dominated by finer 2.5 PM 2.5 particle, the summer pollution is dominated by PM10 and ozone. How ozone? Ozone is a secondary pollutant generally formed because of the nitrogen oxide from vehicular emission and the volatile organic compound from different sources. But most importantly, the reaction accentuates or occurs in presence of a strong sunlight, and this season has no dearth of a strong sunlight. So vehicular pollution, because of the heat outside, is more cars and vehicles are being used. So nitrogen oxide is there, VOC is there. The key element, the strong sunlight, is plenty. Now this is causing high ozone pollution. So if you can see this, that National Ambient Air Quality Standard says that PM10, the standard that NAAQ has set, 100 microgram per meter cube for 24 hours, if it will cross this level, it will be termed as pollutant. Same is, if 1 hour concentration goes beyond 180 for ozone, it will be pollutant. Now from April till May 30, the concentration is more than this safety limit. For last 60 days, 54 days recorded higher level of PM10, while 40 days recorded higher level of ozone. And this is not just a story of Delhi. All the metropolitan city, if you can see, they are recording, at least in general, they are recording 5 to 10 days which have higher ozone and PM10 concentration in the air. But yes, like in the winters, Delhi is topping the chart again. Now, National Ambient Air Quality Standards, it legally prescribes standard for the maximum permissible concentration of air pollutants, and it is notified by the Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, under the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. It covers 12 pollutants, namely sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, particulate matter 10 and 2.5, ozone, lead, carbon monoxide, ammonia, benzene, benzopyrene, arsenic and nickel. Please note, it does not cover CO2 and some other gases which you might think that it will be covering. It does not. The major gas CO2 it doesn't cover as a pollutant. So it covers 12 pollutants. The list is here. The next news article is based on death of the Gir lion. So 8 lions found dead, and mostly it is suspected that it is caused by the Babesia parasite. Now, important from the perspective of prelims, environment conservation, and we will look into what is this Babesia parasite and what is important from the perspective of conservation of Asiatic lion. So Babesia is a protozoa parasite like that of malaria, and the only difference is that malaria is the vector The carrying vector is Anopheles female mosquito, while it is a tick-borne disease. It is caused due to the biting of the tick. It also ruptures the red blood cells. And animal host, they include ungulates like cheetal, nilgai, deer, antelopes, or the cattle, buffalo, dogs also. Lions themselves are the carrier of this host, Babesia. Now, symptom includes fever, anemia, enlarged spleen, lethargy, and red water disease. In severe cases, it causes organ failure and death also. So, it can impact sometimes humans also. In general, it is found in livestock, wildlife, and pets. Now, according to experts, these 8 deaths in Gir is concerning because it is the only place where Asiatic lions are naturally found. Now, scientists say that you don't require an immediate intervention because wildlife is something which maintains the equilibrium on its own. But the population should be separated. So, it should not be concentrated at one place. And they gave a very good, important lesson from Tanzania, Serengeti National Park in 1990s, where 1/3 of the lion population was wiped out in 3 months. So, they say that number were adequate, so they could sustain, they were able to sustain this tragic situation. But in India, where we have more than 50 tiger reserves and such a huge population of tiger, we have only one conservation zone for Asiatic lion, and all the population is residing there. So scientists say that you need to disperse this population so that even if mortality in or the parasite infect one population, other can be saved. So we need to address low genetic diversity, because as of now it is concentrated, but the genetic diversity requires a huge time to evolve. Now, this is why scientists say that you need to relocate Asiatic lions to some other sanctuaries also. Now, Gir National Park, as we know, lies in the Kathiawar, Saurashtra, and in the Gujarat state, and it is drained by rivers like Hiran, Shetranji, Datardi, Shingoda, and Machundri. And it is the last natural wild habitat of the Asiatic lion. Very important for the Maldhari pastoralist type, which lives in tandem and in complete harmony with these Asiatic lions. And if you will talk about the flora, it is a dry deciduous kind of landscape. Teak, dudlo, khair, etc. are found, and fauna includes leopard, hyena, cheetal, sambar, etc. As the Asiatic lion, earlier they had this population from West Asia and Central Africa, part Iran also, but now they are extinct. Till in India also they were found in almost all the parts of India, but now they are concentrated in the Gir National Park, the only population. But conservation effort, earlier they were endangered, but now they are listed as vulnerable, but provided highest protection under Schedule 1. And they are distinguished from the African counterparts because they have this mane. The facial hair that they have is comparatively smaller. The mane is smaller. Plus, if you can see this, they have this abdominal fold. So kind of skin comes and creates a fold in abdomen area. So this is how they are distinct from their African counterparts. The last news article from the prelims pointer is related to South Sudan, where United Nations Peace Commission was instituted in the year 2011, and a medal, that is Dag Hammarskjöld medal, this year will be given to Indian UN peacekeeping official, Naib Subedar Sujit Kumar Pradhan, who was killed in South Sudan last year. Now, this humanitarian crisis in South Sudan is mainly related to the conflict of power between the president and vice president. And now, due to this tussle of power, this entire region has gone into a state of civil war and severely facing the crisis of food security. So, we'll be covering the important geographical feature related to South Sudan. So, terrain is grassland. If you can see, wooded grassy savanna, floodplains and wetlands are there. Bordering country, if you will see the Africa, it is eastern part of the Africa, and bordering countries include Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, DRC, Central African Republic and Chad. These are the bordering countries which which border Sudan. Very important feature is this also landscape, which is swamp and large swampy land, and it is central region of South Sudan where it is located. And located in tropical region, it is hot and humid. Very important river which originates in Lake Victoria, White Nile. It traverses through the South Sudan, and in Khartoum, that is capital of Sudan, it meets with the Blue Nile, which comes from Lake Tana in Ethiopia and culminates into river Nile. So longest river in the world, passes through South Sudan. Capital is Juba, and very rich in mineral resources. It consists oil reserves, gold, diamond, limestone, iron ore, copper, chromium, zinc, tungsten, mica and silver. And a very new country got its independence in the year 2011 itself, and since then UN peacekeeping mission is operationalized there, and there due to loss of life, due to loss of the martyr, the Naib Subedar, who is going to get this medal from the United Nations. That is why this place was in news, and we have covered the important information related to that particular place. So that's all for today. Stay tuned for more such updates. Thank you.